We have Dan Titus, who covers the NBA for Yahoo, joining the show. Dan, appreciate taking the time to join us. How you doing today?
What's going on, fellas? How you feeling?
Good.
I don't know. I'm not feeling that great after the way the Cavs played yesterday. It was sloppy.
That was a tough one, man. That was a tough one. I mean, Darius Garland, how often is the 90% free throw shooter going to miss 2 shots in the clutch? They let that game slip away, and I think that there are some red flags for it, but I think that they're going to be okay.
Yeah, I'm curious, Dan. That play when Sengun shoves Jarrett Allen to the ground, and then they replay it, and I'm obviously an older fan, so I'm always like, I want more physicality in the game. But it's not like he shoved him to the ground. There was no How is that not a technical foul or an intentional foul? What happened?
The consistency of the officiating in the NBA, I think, is something that Adam Silver needs to look at. This seemed like some home cooking to me. You know, this was a bang play. To me, that's a no call. It's just a no call, or you got to call the foul. This isn't a Jarrett Allen thing. So I think that this was just a bad officiating opportunity for the Houston Rockets to get a call late in the game. But that's not ultimately what lost the Cavs this game. You know what I mean? Like, there was plenty of opportunities where they were getting bullied on the block all game. You can't have Amen Thompson getting 16 rebounds. Steven Adams off the bench having 11 rebounds. Like, they were just out. They were out-muscled the entire game. And I think that also speaks to a bigger issue that the Cleveland Cavaliers might want to address by the trade deadline.
You know, that's what I was going to go to. You know, the overall physicality. We saw what happened with the New York Knicks a couple years ago in that playoff series. Hartenstein really gives us, buckets every time he gets on the floor, whether it's for the Knicks. Now you see him do that for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Is this something that is a blueprint for other teams? Will other teams say, look, you know, Cleveland is very good. They got a great record. They got they move the ball. They do some things. But we're going to muddy the game up and make them be physical. Is this something that is a blueprint moving forward that the Cavs are going to have to deal with?
100%. I think that the scouting report's already been made, because in wins, look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're the best three-point shooting team in the league. They're the most efficient in terms of offensive rating. But when you get into the trenches with them, can they hang? And we saw them struggle in every one of their losses. In each of the 7 losses, they've shot 32% from the three-point line. They struggle when anytime something gets physical, they wind up jacking up shots. And that's not going to be a recipe if you want to be a title contending team. I think that they've missed opportunities. Obviously, Evan Mobley didn't play in this game, but they're going to have to play through their bigs a little bit more and slow this tempo down. I thought that the Houston Rockets got way too many fast break points. Their transition defense wasn't great last night. So these are the types of things that you can kind of clean up as you're getting longer into the season.
You know what? Let me ask you this, Dan. In the last sets, we've seen a lot of one-on-one going on with the Cavs there. Donovan ended up doing this step back. Darius tried to drive it in on 3 people, and obviously that didn't work. This Cavs team usually is better as a team basketball when they're swinging the thing around. Do you think when we get into more playoff basketball and when things get serious, do you think that we continue to see the Donovan and Darius taking those last shots? Or do you think that, Kenny Atkinson draws up plays and they more of a team style, obviously when Evan comes back in their full strength?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the latter, because, Kenny Atkinson coming from the Golden State Warriors, and I think he learned how to develop an offense, fast pace, ball movement. That's really been the key to their success this season. So there's going to be those hero ball moments for Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. I think this one was like the masterclass of it. I mean, they shot 17 for 42 between them last night. So I think it's a good thing that Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are still willing to be aggressive, because there's going to be those moments where they're going to have to take over at some point down the stretch. But I think that this team is definitely better and more consistent when they have everyone involved. So I think that also starts with having Evan Mobley on the court. I mean, I think he's the engine that's really unlocked this team to be the team that they are right now. And so the quicker that they can get him back, the better.
Dan, you mentioned Mobley, and when the Cavs are healthy, they go 10, 11 deep. And we know that you're not going to play that many guys in the playoffs. And in the same vein, we're talking about maybe making a trade. We've been talking about, trying to get a wing player. But now we're talking about, well, maybe they need another big guy that can, battle and be more physical with teams like the Rockets. The Cavs don't have a lot in terms of trade assets. What what do you think they can do to improve, if anything, at the trade deadline?
I mean, I know that one of the players that's been linked to them is Cam Johnson, and I hope that there could be something that could be made there. Maybe the Cavs, being that they don't have a first-round pick until 2030, maybe they can make a deal similar to the Suns and, split those up and try to see if they can get, maybe a couple seconds to get to Brooklyn to get Cam Johnson, because I think that's the player that they're missing. A guy that's a 3-and-D wing that can take some pressure off of the backcourt that's struggling at the point of attack. That's their biggest need. So if they can get that or some caliber player, like that's the most coveted player in the league right now. But I think that the Cavs are working with something. They have some tradable contracts. Isaac Okoro is only making $10 million. George Niang's on a favorable deal. Like they have money to move around. But I think that that's what their goal should be at the deadline. They got to get a wing. And then if they have something left over, go get a discount big, or maybe you can find someone in the buyout market to make sure you don't hit that second.
Yeah, he stole my question. Listen, he cut me off. Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson was obviously the next way where we were going. But I'll throw this in here. When you have a Cam Johnson and they're looking to match the money and send guys away, are you worried about the chemistry? One thing that we always hear around here is every time we get a good team or we get a decent team, we're worried that they're going to bring somebody in and it's going to change things and they're going to all of a sudden be like the Indiana Pacers or Ron Artest or something. But is this a situation where Cam Johnson could come in and fit in? And do you worry about things like chemistry, especially when a team that is playing so well?
I mean, at a general sense, I do feel you in terms of like bringing in anybody new and messing up the cohesion that you may have. But if we're talking the caliber of player of like a Cam Johnson, a guy that's already been to an NBA Finals, he's been in the playoffs before. He's really just on a losing team right now. So I think he would probably be a perfect fit. Very unselfish player, doesn't require a high usage rate to be successful, and he's unselfish and he locks in on defense. All that to me fits the formula of what the Cavs are building and what they have. So I actually think addition by subtraction is probably a good thing. I think that they haven't gotten consistent performances from Max Strus. Karis LeVert has been in and out of the lineup. Isaac Okoro as well. I think they can make an upgrade here, and it's not going to really hurt the longevity of this team and their success that they've seen to date.
Dan, when you look at these 7 losses that the Cavs have, out of those 7 losses, what is your takeaway? Like, what is the way to beat the Cavs? Because obviously last night, some people would say the Rockets is physical. When they lost back-to-back to the Hawks, it was more of a taller wings type thing. Celtics was the first time playing it. What is the Cavs' true weakness, and are you worried about that being exposed in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it's just attacking their backcourt. I mean, they just can't guard defensively, and any time that they're going to face any type of bigger wing, like the Celtics of Jaylen Brown and even Derek White, he's not a bigger guard, but he plays like one. If you shut down their backcourt, what's the next option? Who's the next person that it's going to go to? Which is why I think it's prudent for them to get Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen touches early, slow the game down, play through them, and then that will open up the court so that you can get more off-ball actions for Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, free them up so they actually have some room and ability to shoot, and they're not just left swinging the ball, working the shot clock down, and then just chucking a three. Because ultimately, that's not where the Cavaliers are going to be successful, and that's where they've had the most trouble. Lou Dort, I think we talked about before with the physicality, Lou Dort beat him up. And the same thing goes for Alperen Sengun and what the Houston Rockets did. So I think that they are being battle tested. They know that they're a little bit weaker in terms of their physicality. So I think that they're going to continue to be challenged in that way unless they address it at the deadline.
Dan, I was going to ask a question about Donovan Mitchell, but then I literally just saw 1 second ago your colleague Dan Devine just released his picks for the Eastern Conference All-Stars. I'm not sure if you saw his article on that, but in his article, he had a Cavs guard starting and 3 Cavs making the All-Star team. Evan Mobley was a reserve. Donovan Mitchell was a reserve. And he selected Darius Garland as the starter in the backcourt with Jalen Brunson on the Eastern Conference All-Star team. His argument, and you should read the article, great article on yahoosports.com, highly recommend it from Dan, who was a great guest on this show too, was he said Donovan's having a good season. Darius has been their best player this year in the backcourt. When you hear that, do you agree with Dan, or do you think, we may have to retalk Dan into the ladder here of the Cavs backcourt hierarchy.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the probably one of the biggest surprises that I had of this season was how Donovan Mitchell was going to come into this season and his approach. And I think the one of the reasons that the Cavs have been successful, not only because of unlocking Evan Mobley, but it's also because Donovan Mitchell was willing to sacrifice. And Darius Garland's been struggling the last couple of years. He's battling injuries, but I also think he didn't really get into a rhythm playing with Donovan Mitchell as his backcourt mate. And he's ceding touches. I think we're seeing the more efficient Darius Garland that I don't think anyone expected him to be one of the top contenders for 50, 40, 90 this year in terms of efficiency. He's been outstanding. And he just raises the floor of this team when he's involved and he's actually getting the opportunities to be more of a score-first guard, but then also being a facilitator. And I think that's only been able to evolve because Donovan Mitchell has taken a bit of a step back, taking less shots, being more efficient, and kind of letting his backcourt mate cook. I'm not mad at him putting Darius Garland in the starting lineup, to be honest, and I think it's a pretty bold selection. I don't know that he's going to get there, but I'm not mad at it at all.
Dan, when you look at the Eastern Conference, obviously the Celtics, even with the Cavs having the best record, well, I guess I shouldn't say obviously. Do you think the Celtics deserve to still be the favorites in the East, even with the Cavs having the best record?
For sure. They're in cruise control right now because, they're seemingly healthy. They're not playing their best basketball, but I do think they are getting that sense of adversity like a lot of championship teams do. They have this little bit of a hangover. They're going to get some losses, but I don't think they've really kicked it into high gear yet. They've already had one victory against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I think that was just their test of testing the waters, all right, where do we kind of stand here and how good is this team? The Boston Celtics can be physical, so I still feel like they're the team to beat. They have two of the most explosive 3-and-D wings that you have in the game and also lockdown defenders at Drew Holiday and Derek White, and that's not even talking about their front court. So this team, the roster is just too deep, top down, and they play the same style of launching a lot of threes and winning that three-point variance game. And if the Cavaliers are missing their three-pointers, it hasn't been good. And that's been 7 losses this year. So they can keep up, but I think a couple moves at the deadline, I think, can make the Cleveland Cavaliers a little bit more competitive and bridge that gap a little bit between the Celtics and them.
All right, man, we're gonna get you up out of here, but we need you to give us a sound bite. So we need something to put on the internet. So what we need is one player that nobody really recognizes, but is a low-key undercover superstar.
Amani Bates.
Well, actually, Dan,
I'm
what
on
do you
that
think about Amani
I'm on that
Bates?
level.
What do you think about Amani Bates?
I've watched him in summer league the last 2 years, and his growth from the first year to last year was crazy. Him and Craig Porter Jr. were like two guys that for some reason I always wound up watching the Cavs play, and I'm like, yo, they gotta find minutes for Porter Jr. too. It's just a shame he got hurt, but I think both of those guys actually should be rotational players in the next couple of years.
Clip that.
I think
your guy.
Yeah.
All right, so you gave us that clip, so we'll go with Amani Bates as an undercover superstar. Tell me one household name that is secretly washed, but everybody don't know it yet.
Ooh.
Secretly washed. Damn, who's washed? I'm gonna say. I mean, Draymond Green's too obvious.
That's too obvious.
Yeah.
Washed. I'm gonna go with DeMar DeRozan.
Okay, mid-range king. Okay, I like that.
Mid-range king, but he doesn't help you win. I think he's always a guy that's gonna get his in 20, but it's not really gonna matter.
I was gonna go with Bradley Beal.
He'd been wild.
Oh,
I mean, he's
yeah,
not secretly
he's been
washed.
That's been fooling
been
me.
wild.
Dan, I got one more.
That's why nobody wants him.
Yeah,
This man how does he have a no trade clause? It's just beyond
I don't know.
me.
Yeah.
Man.
It's
That
him
is
and
nuts.
LeBron. It's the most ridiculous club of all time. Dan, I did have one more question real quick. I just thought of this, but
Yeah.
we talk about the Cavs. They got out rebounding, out physical. A name that I think actually could make some sense in the buyout market if he becomes available would be Kevin Love. Just curious. I know he's in that kind of maybe that washed category, but what do you think about the Kevin Love fit with the Cavs as a potential buyout candidate?
I mean, if you're talking about chemistry and worried about locker room and leadership, bring Kevin Love back. What better reunion to have at this point? In Miami, they're probably still going for it because they can't afford to end up in the outside of the playoffs because then they're going to owe an unprotected pick to the OKC Thunder. But I think bringing back Kevin Love in the buyout market is a great idea, especially with Kel'el Ware starting to emerge there. He's going to get more minutes. I would absolutely be interested in Kevin Love, and that shores up your front court a little bit. You get someone that can actually put a body on somebody and rebound and doesn't need touches. I love that. And he can play the pick and roll and stretch the floor. So, yeah, go get Kevin Love. I love that call.
Look at that.
Okay,
nice job,
McNuggets.
Mike. Thanks, Dan. We appreciate it, man.
Check out Dan
No
on
doubt.
Yahoo
Thanks, Bill.
Sports.
All right.
Does a great podcast. Dan, we appreciate you very much, man. Thank you.